What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com. Welcome to week 17 of the Reverse Stat Update series. So this week was an interesting week. I traveled quite a bit this week. I had the Rooted in Regeneration Conference in Georgia, at Bluffton, Georgia, with White Oak Pastures and the Center for Agricultural Resilience organization. So very cool conference. But that said, there was a lot of traveling and a lot of variables. And since I was at White Oak Pastures, which is kind of one of the ranches leading the charge on this whole grass-finished beef movement, I ate a ton of food. All quality food, but a ton of food nonetheless. So this week, let's just dive into the spreadsheet here. So week 17 started on the 11th. My weight was 179.6. And as you can see, that went up quite a bit throughout the course of the week. I think I capped at 186.5 on Monday, the 18th, so the next week, but up a steady increase throughout the entire week. Looking at my macros here, I tracked everything that I consumed, so I didn't deviate at all from tracking, but I didn't really hit specific consistent numbers. I mean, I had 479 grams of fat on Monday, 489 here on Friday, pretty high 400s throughout this whole week. I had several high protein days, 422 here on Wednesday, 438, 419. So when you average all these out, my average daily caloric intake wound up being 5,373 calories, which is a pretty significant increase from the prior weeks, which was 4,761. My macro distribution ratio was right around 69%. So pretty close to a 1-to-1 ratio in protein grams to fat grams all in all. But very, very high intake. And honestly, I mean, obviously I put on quite a bit of weight. Some of that is most certainly body fat, and I'm okay with that. I also was traveling. The drive from our place to Georgia wound up being like 12 hours long or so. So sitting in a vehicle for quite some time, going to have some fluid retention as a result of that. And I did not track my sodium at all throughout this week. So I was consuming a significant increase in sodium over my baseline. That contributed to a pretty significant increase in fluid retention as well. But again, I think this week was a good week all in all. Like, it was, from a psychological standpoint, it did my body good. I was eating all really high quality food. None of it was like a binge fest. Like, there was no point in time that I felt like I was just eating in like a feeding frenzy style motion. I mean, one day I think I had 7,000 calories or something pretty close to it. Maybe not. I was 5,900, so 6,000. So pretty high intake, but again, I put on quite a bit of weight. But from a psychological standpoint, I think this week was really good for me because I was able to totally relax while I was in Georgia. I was outside the whole time. We were touring the ranch. I was with my family. I was interacting with the livestock. I was just present. I was present. I was eating high quality food. I trained every single day there. They had like a farm style workout ranch style gym there by the processing facility. So I was working out every single day. So I stayed on top of my nutrition, or for my training. And I think that helped put my mind at ease, knowing that I was over consuming quite a bit. Had I not had access to a gym, I probably wouldn't have eaten near what I did. But my activity was high. I was walking the whole time. And I just pretty much leaned into that intuition and ate a lot more food than I needed to. But again, I felt really good doing it. And my weight obviously has increased. I'm holding a lot of fluid retention as a result of that increase in sodium, increase in water from traveling, and just the increase in food in general. But I'm at peace with it all. So let's just look at my chronometer here and kind of look at some of the meals. So Monday I had... Again, the keto brick is pretty much a staple. Every single day I had lamb chops on Monday. Tuesday the 12th consisted of pork. I was traveling that day. I had some pork chops and some asparagus. Wednesday was more pork chops, asparagus, chicken breast. The 14th was beef cheeks. They had some grass-finished beef cheeks for us there at White Oak, which was delicious, and they had smoked a whole hog. So I spoke on Thursday. After I got done speaking, we all dove into this whole hog they had smoking for 24 hours. That was delicious. I ate 33 ounces of that, so quite a bit. And then Friday, each day they had their own pasture-raised chicken eggs, farm fresh eggs. So I was eating a ton of that, plus their pastured pork. So a pretty significant bolus of both scrambled eggs and bacon and pork sausage every morning. And that, I think, contributed to a lot of that increase in calories. I normally don't eat a breakfast meal. I normally just have a brick after training. But since we were meeting at their general store and restaurant every single day, and the eggs and bacon was delicious, I ate quite a bit of calories in my morning meal. And what I have noticed, if I'm trying to kind of keep tabs on my calories, if I just have the brick and or a carnivore bar or something like that during the morning hours, then my evening meal is pretty big. If I have a big meal at breakfast, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to eat a big meal at dinner. I'm probably just going to eat 2 big meals. So if I'm trying to have a hedge on my total caloric intake, I'm better off not having anything apart from a keto break or so for the morning hour meal. But since I was there, I did have their bacon and eggs every day, and that contributed to total overall daily intake being much higher. They had grass-finished burgers that night. And then on Saturday, what did I have then? They had some pecans. They had a regeneratively raised organic pecan presenter there, so he brought some pecans. I had quite a few of those. So yeah, all real quality food, all high quality food. Sunday, the last day of the week here, had some pork chops and some chicken breast and some corned beef. So again, all real food, nothing like dessert oriented, nothing sweet, nothing that I feel guilty for eating. Just a lot of it. Again, I'm higher in weight right now. That's going to kind of drop off a little bit now that I'm back home, back into my normal routine, back into training with my equipment, and back into tracking my sodium intake. But I imagine my weight will probably level off at about somewhere between 180 and 184, I would imagine, which is pretty much the weight that I started this prep at to begin with. So for all intents and purposes, I have returned to my weight that I was at the beginning. And I'm going to do a full video at the end of this reverse, kind of documenting before the prep, into the reverse. But to give you all a teaser, I'm at pretty much the same weight I was at the beginning of this prep, but my composition is leaner now than it was at the start. I just got done doing an Inbody a few minutes ago, and it's showing 12, 13%. I started the prep at about 16, 17% via the Inbody. So at the same weight, I am leaner than I was at the onset of the prep. And that is the whole point of going through these phases. You end up at a better position than you started from at the onset. And every time you cycle through these phases, you get better and better and better. Psychologically speaking right now, I've got a really good, healthy relationship with food. Like I said, none of this overconsumption was like a binge feeding frenzy style of consumption. I'm at peace with it all. I feel really good. My performance markers are all trending in the right direction. My strength is increasing significantly, and I feel really good as a baseline right now. I don't feel there's any need or benefit for putting on additional body fat. 12, 13% is pretty much where I want to hang out at the height of the building phase. So right now, the whole goal is just to build more muscle while maintaining this 12, 13% body fat composition. So that's what we've got going here. That is what the foods consisted of. Let's go ahead and look at some pictures from the week. All right, so these pictures were taken before I left for the conference. So these were at that 179 weight. So I'm holding more water now than I am in these pictures. But that water retention will be reflected in next week's video. But you kind of see here how we're looking. Again, still have quite a bit of separation in the quads, so I feel good about that. Flash didn't go off there, but it's kind of a cool picture. And then just a lot more fullness, like a lot more girth to my arms, filling out my clothes much, much more so. Still have some striations in the shoulder caps, still quite a bit of definition in the legs. So this is pretty much the composition that I want to hold throughout the building phase going forward. So I feel really good at this. Feel really fine with how this looks. and I have no complaints. Still quite a bit of separation in the legs from the hamstring side, not holding any fluid in my calves at these pictures. So feeling really good with it. I'm at peace with all of it. So this is 17 weeks into the reverse diet. We are coming up on a year almost of tracking calories, tracking macros, tracking everything to the degree of accuracy that I have throughout this prep and reverse. So we'll do a full-blown recap on this in its summation at the conclusion of this reverse. But again, I am liking how things are progressing thus far. I'm at peace with the higher weight and overconsumption. And that's kind of where I want all y'all, the take home to be. Like, having a healthy relationship with food is of paramount importance post-show. And so many people struggle with that. You don't want to have a week like I just had at the beginning of your reverse diet because your intuition is not really good at that point. Me being 17 weeks in now, I can kind of lean into that intuition a little bit more, include a little bit more variety, understand that there's going to be more fluctuations in fluid weight and therefore total weight. But doing so now this far into the reverse gives me some clarity as to what my body and my mind are going to be like once the reverse is done in its entirety. So feeling very good with everything. This is what we're looking like. This is what the macros are. This is what the spreadsheet's showing. But I am excited to now be back home, kind of tighten things up, get things a little bit more dialed in, and just return to more of a baseline going forward. So thank y'all so very much for tuning in to week 17 of the reverse, and we will see y'all next week.